It's v.h.s.x. What do you mean?
Alright everybody, welcome back to a brand new video. Today we're going to be doing a bit of a discussion reaction video that was suggested by one of you guys in the Discord server. So if you want to go ahead and do that, you just go ahead and join the server with the link in the description. And all you have to do, hit the knife at the bottom of the rules, and then you can just talk with the rest of us. You can even submit videos to be discussed, just like this one. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and get into it. Let's go ahead and take a look. So it says killers don't control a lot of their own perks, which, I mean, shocker, you know what I mean? That's how it works, especially when you take into account we have a mode like Chaos Shuffle where you literally cannot choose what perks you're getting, and therefore can't really choose if your perks are actually going to do anything in the match. So go ahead and jump in.
Chaos Shuffle, by far my favorite game mode, and I kind of realized something this iteration of it, and it's not something like, wow, there's a lot of bad perks, like, you know, we all realized that the very first Chaos Shuffle, but I realized something a bit more about perks themselves that I found interesting. So this Chaos Shuffle, I have been kind of struggling more than ever. I've always felt Chaos Shuffle leans towards the survivor side, and
yeah, I mean, that, like, I have to jump in and say that is beyond obvious. We already understand that. I've spoken about this many times. A lot of people may or may not disagree with that, but I've always stated that the way that survivor perks function in comparison to the killer's perks function is very much so more passive for the survivor side on average than it is for the killer. If you look at even the most meta of perks, a lot of the perks that are considered the best and that are used in meta are perks that are usually very consistently active with very low input requirements. So something like Sprint Burst is simply just press sprint, or for Vigil it's just active at all times, or for the Ghost Notes it's active at all times, or Deja Vu or Windows are always active at all times. There really is no cooldown or anything like that for those kinds of perks. And if anything, that those perks actually just aid other perks that are just as anti-interaction as those other perks mentioned, right? So Sprint Burst is a perfect example. You have a way to reduce exhaustion, then it just makes chases pretty much super simple because you just sprint off and then reach the next tile without even having to think about it. So with that being said, let's also take into account what is meta, quote unquote, for killers, right? Something like Pain Res, right? Something like Surge or something, or something like Grim Embrace, or people use that or something like that. And if you take a look at the requirements, like these particular perks that are supposed to be giving you value for the slowdown requires you to get a down, which can vary in difficulty between killers. If you're playing Blight and you're very good at Blight, you're probably going to be able to get a lot of value from Pain Res very quickly. In comparison to, say, Skull Merchant or Ghostface, you probably will not get the same amount of value. If not, it'll be even more difficult, and that has to do with the actual factor of having to down a survivor in a quick amount of time. That is just how it works. That's unfortunately how it is when you look at the balancing. Now, is there passive perks on both sides? Of course, but I will say that the strength of those passive perks are definitely very, very different from survivor side to killer side. And I would honestly say, like, a lot of these more passive sort of perks on killer are really not as impactful to a match, I would say, in comparison to, you know, say a team running like full of the passives like Deja Vu's with, say, Proof Thyself and stuff like that. I think would offer more of an impact than a single killer running a passive perk like, say, Lethal or something. But let's go ahead and continue.
there's a couple of exceptions there. Like, if you're like an S tier killer, if you're like Blight or like Ghoul or Nurse or something like that, then it probably is actually even more killer sided, because you can ensure everybody that you're trying to like tunnel out doesn't have DS off the record, multiple second chances and things like that. So
that is something that, which, you know, we're usually hard pressed to find a take that we can agree with Scott here. But I will say this is one response that I will say I do agree with. If you are playing a strong killer, and I'm not gonna really say it's more killer sided in that sense, I'm not gonna use that kind of language, but what I will say is that if you are running a character that is strong, that does not really require perks to be useful, like Blight, for example, you can kind of run any perk and you'll have a blast, because you're like, hey, I'm just using these funky abilities for my perks or whatever, alongside the fact that I have a fighting chance to chase and I can actually move quickly. I cannot say the same for Ghostface. At least if you've been tuning in with the live streams, it's very difficult. I mean, it's like your add-on selections are usually very bad, and then of course, the perks you get are usually very bad for that particular character who already struggles as it is. So it makes it like triple as difficult than it would be in a regular 1v4 game. And that has just been proven just by my own like matches that you can see. Like, that is what we see. I can play Blight and have a much more fun experience, play Ghostface my main, and it's a nightmare. So
getting people out of matches with those S tier killers is actually even stronger than base DBD. But basically everybody else, it's significantly weaker, and the reason is the same as it's always been, that a killer's perk is more important and impactful per perk than a survivor perk. For example, if one out of 16 perks for survivor ends up being useless or something like that, okay, that's 1 out of 16. That's a pretty big dilution of uselessness. If one of my killer perks is bad, that's 25% of all of my perks. So it's a huge difference just based on the amount of perks in the game. And statistically, it's more likely to go in the survivor's favor because they're just less reliant on perks in general. And frankly, just not having anything that's going to benefit you as a killer is far more detrimental than not having like an exhaustion perk is basically the equivalent. Like,
now, as we expect, we are hearing things that are, factually proven. And it's a rarity to say that we can actually say that Scott is speaking with a level of accuracy. So it's really good to see, for once, we actually are seeing that. And these things are proven by just simply looking at the effects of these perks and how they apply to different characters. I mean, we can, as somebody who has mained a lot of the licensed characters, gotten them to the P100 status even before all the blood point, bonuses and things like that we get nowadays, I can say with full confidence that there's just simply a lot of perks that just do not apply to a good majority of characters. Chucky is a perfect example. He's one I use constantly when talking about perk balance, is that his power is such a strange, he has such a strange phenomenon, because he's like a 110 killer, but then he also has a dash ability, but then he also has like a stealth feature, but the stealth feature is not very good because it's still directional, so you can still hear him laughing and stuff like that, and you kind of know where he is usually. But because he's like slow moving, he can't really use like other like more slow moving type of perks. You could argue like the passive slowdowns usually run per se. But he's also has a dash. He's kind of like above like the lower tier, and then in a sense, like he's not D tier. I would say he's like C tier. So then it's like better to run Oblivious. Like it's a strange phenomenon with this character in that sense. So I can point out a lot of perks and go, that might not work on him because he moves very slow. So pain res, you may struggle to even get to that hook because of how long it takes to get it down with the guy. However, you can't really use Surge either because he usually is using his powers, so then you're not getting that either. So you might have to use Pop instead, and then like Brule kind of works on him, because at least it kind of speeds up a little bit of your chase. And then he also has like a pretty good like bonus with like Rapid, so like it's even hard for me to like kind of pinpoint and explain unless I have like all the perks in front of me to be able to scroll through and like kind of point out like, well, this is good and this isn't, and it's just very strange. Like, it's very strange as an example comparatively to a character like an S tier that just doesn't really have a massive impact with perk selection.
Like that Chaos Shuffle, in my opinion, has always leaned slightly towards Survivor. And again, I realize it can feel not that way. If you're going against one of those S tiers and you're getting tunneled out, then yes, it's going to feel worse. But for the most part, on average, it's always felt Survivor sided. This iteration of Chaos Shuffle, I'm getting my ass beat more than I ever have, and I think I know the main reason for that. One, I've been getting a strange grouping of like very good survivors lately, but for the most part, I think a simple tweak that they made with this Chaos Shuffle, which is making it so every survivor has an item every game, is doing way more damage than they actually think it might have, or it's having more of an impact. I can't say it's doing damage.
I mean, what a shocker. The most survivor-sided mode that everybody loves because it's so survivor-sided is now becoming more survivor-sided. I mean, is this really a shock? Like, is this really like a shock to us? Like, this is not... Are we being so for real right now? Like, this is This is to be expected. Like, we kind of knew this was coming. Like, the second they added like add-on restrictions to the killers, I go, yeah, I mean, they're most likely gonna like, you know, disable something. And mind you, realistically, I thought, okay, if they're gonna disable add-ons, can they get rid of those meme add-ons from the Chaos Shuffle so that, you know, people are not gonna get like, you know, counterweight on Hillbilly, you know, getting that other like one-hitting, you know, Bubba add-on that like you have to deal 2 health states to down somebody with your chainsaw. Like, can you take stuff like that out? And it's like, no, we're gonna leave that in. I'm like, okay, like, what? Like, what are we doing? But yet, you can select a category of an item on the survivor side and have the chance to get Eries and purple add-ons on those exact items. So I'm like, huh? Like, so killers can select their add-ons because nah, that's clearly too powerful somehow. Yet we allow them to get the shitty add-ons that do nothing for you, but yet we give the survivor side any selection of item that category they want, while also having the ability to also get any rarity, which 9 times out of 10 is toolbox of brand new parts for some reason. I don't know if that's just bad luck, but I kept seeing it in multiple games in a row. I'm like, how is this possible? Like, I saw 2 to 3 like almost every game. I was like, this is weird. I don't know. I just thought that was strange. But either way, who would have guessed, right? Who would have guessed, right? I mean, on top of the fact that, of course, you know, I'm already playing a low tier killer as it is. Then the perks are bad. Then there's no add-on selection. So then I get add-ons that do nothing. And then on top of that, they have a fantastic selection of not only items, but perks. I'm like, oh, wow. Like, this is just great. So yeah, I don't know. I've always really disliked Chaos Shuffle. I've always just, it's not fun to just be able to, you know, not even like, just to know your build will never work because of the way your character is. And it's like, you're just like, well, I guess I'll just not play. Like, what else is there to really do, you know? Unless you just want to end up playing the same exact killer that everyone else is playing and just, you know, that's about it really. It is not really anything interesting about that per se, but I digress. Let's go ahead and continue.
Because I'm sure survivors love it. But previously, you would have to bring your own items into Chaos Shuffle and it would consume it from your inventory. So every game wasn't always filled with 4 items because not everyone always wants to bring and lose a really good, you know, toolbox or something like that every single game. But now, because there's absolutely no downside, you just simply pick an item class and get a random item of that kind. There's no...
I want to quickly note that I really don't understand the concept of worrying about your item being lost if you can just level up again and get it back. Like, I don't know if that's just me. Like, even when I play killer, I'm not really too concerned with my add-on loss because I can just either, if I run out of the add-on I like, just play a different killer, get blood points, and then go back and then level them up again and find it. Or I just continue playing that character, trying out other add-ons in the meantime, getting enough blood points, leveling up again getting my add-ons back. And even when I play Survivor, I don't really use items anyway. Like, not to say that you don't have to, but it's just like, I just don't, because I'm like, I don't really care. I'm like, I don't really think I need it, personally, you know? So, I don't know. I just personally don't understand, like, the idea, oh, I'm gonna lose my toolbox. Like you level up, like, freaking 10 times or something, like, you're gonna find one. Like, you know what I mean? Like, the BP gain is really fast in this game, so I'm not really understanding the concept, but, you know, we'll see.
Downside, so every game you're seeing 4 toolboxes or medkits, like every single game, and very often you'll get a really good Commodius or a BNP or something like that.
Yeah, Scott, what Scott's mentioning is also true for the flashlights. I've been seeing that there's been a lot of flashlight squads, because of the fact that, like, you know, you obviously can't bring Lightborn, so they have a much higher chance of being able to bully the killer than not. However, thankfully, you know, the entity decided to bless me with Lightborn on some of those matches, so I was able to hold my own for the most part. But, you know, I can't speak for everybody, so who knows.
Medkits are less crazy than they used to be, which, you know, thank God. So there's, like, I've had people getting syringes left and right, but it's not as impactful anymore. But for the most part, survivors being guaranteed items every single game now means you're more likely to encounter a bunch of toolboxes with even just decent add-ons every single game, and that can make a drastic difference. I cannot tell you the difference between...
Yeah, I mean, it's not really that much of a shock. I mean, like, as we understand, like, you know, gen speed is everything in this game. And if you're going to be able to bring a free toolbox that could potentially be any rarity and potentially be any sort of add-on selection, potentially allowing for even additional gen speed on top of the already fast gen speed, and then on top of the fact that the killers that are playing this mode most likely will, if they decide for some chance like myself, picking a low-tier garbage killer, there is usually 9 times out of 10 no slowdown option. So you're going to lose a lot of gens very, very quickly, even if you play well, because you're not being rewarded with any additional slowdown by having your perks being Shattered Hope, freaking Brutal Strength. You'll get like Languid Touch or something, and then you'll get I don't know, like something like Nurse's Calling, and you're like, what the hell am I supposed to do with these? Like, none of these do like anything for me. Like on Ghostface or something, you're like, this is terrible. Like, all right. And then your add-on would be like monocular lens and like like the headline cutouts. You'd be like, what the hell is this for? Like, I don't, like, what am I supposed to do with these? Like, this is not gonna help me at all. So I don't know, I don't get it. Like, I don't understand it. Like, I find it really funny is like a lot of the people that are fans of Chaos Shuffle like to say this is casual fun party mode or something, but when you actually play matches, people are sweating their asses off. So I really don't understand what version of DBD they're playing that I have to install, because like I'm not seeing it. Hey, what's going on?
Between going against a team with no toolboxes and 4 toolboxes, even if they're not all crazy commodiouses, the 4 toolboxes is like the hardest thing to beat in the entire game. Your brain will explode with how fast generators can go when a team is playing well and they're all allowed to bring toolboxes.
I mean, it's crazy that Scott has to actually mention that your brain will explode when you just load up my own stream. I'm gonna use my stream as an example. Like, we just load up the game on any match in any mode, and we're seeing like 4 to 5 gens done in 4 minutes and 30 seconds. Like, this is not like a shock to me personally. Like, that has been my experience playing this game since I started, pretty much, I would almost say. Well, as far back as I could remember, at least. Like, as long as I could remember, I would say the gens have been rapid firing for me. You know, especially like, you know, with where I'm at with Ghostface and everything like that, and I end up winning a freaking lot. So of course I'm gonna go against those kinds of teams that are winning because they're flying out those gens. So, you know, to be expected. You know what I mean? It is to be expected, as we know. And I don't know, like, me, obviously I know that experience is not is not an experience that everyone has. I understand that. And I know that, like, I've had like a lot of people like were, you know, very surprised to see that on my own matches, because that's not what they experience. It's not what they you know, what they have. And, you know, to be fair, like my response to that is pretty much usually like, yeah, this is just what I had to deal with every time I play this game. And that usually will influence, you know, my perspective on the game, because it's like, can we do something about this glaring problem? But oh, nobody really experiences it. So it's like, why? Like, so then it's like, why the heck am I experiencing it then? Like, that, how is that fair to me? I don't know. But let's continue.
So get enough stacks to benefit from it. So it can be really, really hard to try to force value from things that you're not going to get value from, especially when the perks are absolutely terrible. I got All Shaking Thunder on a map that has no hills, so I had to go in the basement and drop down onto the stairs just to get it active. Like, it makes it a lot harder, and it's been very interesting and incredibly challenging. My highest win streak is 5, which for a DBD content creator is not very high in terms of killer streak. So it's been kind of rough. I haven't been playing any of the S tiers. I've been playing like Nemesis and Wraith and things like that, but for the most part it's been very, very hard. But I realized I had to make a rule for myself, because I had to implement a rule that said I can't use the perk. I need to just give myself a free point there, because if I get Shattered Hope, for example, which allows you to break boon totems permanently instead of just snuffing them, but no one has a boon totem, I physically cannot get value from the perk. It's impossible. So I would have to give myself that point for free, because there's nothing I could do to do that. And I realized I was doing that for a lot of my perks. I was giving myself a free point like every single game, and I realized there are a shit ton of killer perks that are not up to the killer to use whatsoever, and that's the thing I actually found really frustrating. Things like a nurse's calling, for example.
Wow. Who would have guessed? Why does it take a whole other creator to actually say that this is the case for people to start to believe it? I don't know. I've said this many times, months before. I'm like, why? Like, most of these perks have no value. Like, they're actually hot garbage. Like, I really don't understand it. You know what I mean? I really don't get it. Like, it's been factually proven. It can be factually proven. And it continues to be proven by everybody playing matches as killer in the Chaos Shuffle. It just is. There's so many perks on killer that just do nothing. And it's way worse because of the fact that you're by yourself having to get value out of a perk that does nothing. At least on Survivor. If there is a perk that's kind of bad, you might be able to get your teammate to help you activate it. But killer, it's like, yo, you got Shattered Hope. Well, good luck. You know, here you go. Here's a perk you can't use. I'm like, oh, thanks. Thank you. I'm like, wow. Like, it's like, what the hell? So, like, I don't understand why this is like such a surprise, bro. Like, I keep saying this. I don't know. Like, maybe it's the messenger, right? Like, you know. But I guess if somebody like flip-flops opinions all the time, I guess people will believe them more so than the person who stays consistent, I guess.
Well, I can't force people to heal in my Terrarius. Iron Maiden, I can't force people to get in the lockers. Force Penance, I can't force people to body block. Haywire, I can't force people to 99 negate. Like, there's so many perks in the game that are so frustrating to use because you don't use them. You wait for the survivors to let them use it. And that is, I realize that's my least favorite class of perk in the game.
Like I just said, what a surprise. What a surprise. As I've stated even earlier in the video, there's a lot of times where the perks that are just there are not really up to you. You know what I mean? Unfortunately, a lot of perks on Survivor really do not require much input. Like, me personally, I think Smash Hit is one of the best designed exhaustions in the game. And it is never used because it requires you to stun the killer with a pallet versus a perk that you can press sprint and you're making triple distance in a second. But so you can see the distinction there. Two perks that do the same thing. You're like, okay, one thing is I have to stun first and get speed versus I have to run. Of course, you're just gonna run and then get your speed and then you can zoom across the map as much as you'd like. And then if you apply that to killers in their meta, right? Like, it requires me to get 2 health states and a down, right? So, or rather a down to hook, rather. So that's already like 3 different steps. You have to get the first hit, and that's already starting off with the chase in the first place. Have to probably shoot through a bunch of pallets and tiles and bullshit, having to get the 2 health states in order to get the down. Then from there, having to hook, which by that point, who knows what will happen? You could potentially lose all your progress because A, they fell under a piece of wood, or B, they fall in the middle of the open and somebody has a flashlight. So then all that gets reversed, and then you're like, well, I literally have no way of using my pain res, or no way of using my eruption, or no way of using my whatever perk that they give you or in Chaos Shuffle to apply it there. I mean, yeah, like, duh, like, you know what I mean? It's that's why I've always disliked Chaos Shuffles, because as a killer player, I'm never getting perks that do any goddamn thing. They're terrible. Like, what are these perks doing, man? They're doo-doo. But never get no value. Like, what the hell? It's terrible. And I can say like 9 times, I must have got Shattered Hope at least twice. I'm like, at least from what I remember, it's like, but either way, if you want to see the original video, it'll be linked in the description, of course. Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comment section. What do you think about Chaos Shuffle? If you're a fan of it, or if you're not a fan of it, you know, let me know in the comment section. If you want to support the channel, you can hit the thumbs up and maybe hit the sub button as well, or you can be extra special and become a member on YouTube, or you can sub on Twitch, or even join the Patreon to get your name read off at the end of every video. I will see you guys in the next one. All right, let's go ahead and read off our members from Patreon. Pro King 101, YouTube members: Cargan Falcon, Evil Blade, Cap Courteous, WTF You're Not JLo, Evil Peach, Cozy Bozy, Theo Endire, Dole Whip, Noxus, Zero Mocker, Jack, Christian, and Crovator. And for the Twitch, we have Final Girl Bunny, Leona Art, Zazabu, Evil Blade, Danica, Pro Vader, Cake is a Road, Zeneron, Ginsburg, Mr. Morik, Kevin, Zero Mocker, Ashai Boo, and Gryffindor. Appreciate you guys supporting. Really means a lot. If you want to become a member, you can go ahead and join through Patreon or YouTube members, or even sub on Twitch. See you guys in the next one.